All right, we are live, my friend. Let's give it a few minutes for people to come in because we were 10 minutes late. That's on me with the
Kevin.
people.
Kevin was 10 minutes. Remember that. That C in CPT is not for colored people. It's for Colombians.
With the PPP jumping back off, everyone is going crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
Um,
I bet they are.
all right. So, hey, how's the feedback from the live with the subject to King?
It was good. It was good. Good time. Me and Pace had a blast.
Yeah, you want to
Like we
give a little preview for the
talked.
people who didn't see it?
Yeah. So me and Pace did a live last Friday where we just kind of went over exit strategies for creative financing deals. So we went over subject two. We went over land contracts. We went over wholesaling notes. We went over lease options. We kind of went into a lot of creative stuff. But what we're going to do is we're going to do another one here coming up probably in a few weeks to just break down each exit strategy in detail because, once you get in there, you're doing it, questions coming at it. We couldn't really get into the details as much as we wanted on each strategy. So we're going to do that a little bit more here coming up. In about 2 weeks, we'll do another one of those. But it was a good time, man. Me and Pace were on there. He does a lot of subject to stuff out in the Phoenix market. He's acting up to some other markets now too. And, I do a lot of this stuff with the land contracts. So a little bit talking about, both of our strategies and what we do and just, passing on this creative knowledge, which is going to be really, really key here, in the future, which you'll probably give us some updates on the mortgage industry and why creative financing might be, a tool that we all need to use.
Yeah, man. I mean, the theme every week is going to be banks keep tightening, banks keep updating their rules, their guidelines. It's becoming tougher and tougher to be able to get a loan. So, that typical FHA buyer with the 635 credit score and, 40% debt to income ratio, 45%, 50% debt to income ratio, they're getting kind of pushed out of the market right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
if there's more inventory, as people start to freak out and sell their property and not enough buyers, there's where we're going to start feeling the hit. Now, yeah, they passed the bill last night for more stimulus money. A lot of it went to the small business loans, the payroll protection program. There's another $10 billion that went to the injury disaster loan program. So everybody who's getting the grant checks, $1,000 per employee, they should be opening up that application by the end of the week, if not beginning of next week. So I would check it every day if I were you guys. Um, the other thing to consider,
Hey,
and that
Kevin,
one,
real quick.
Mhm.
It's not live on the YouTube yet. You want to check that? I'm looking right now.
It says we're live. We got a comment from YouTube. Here you go. Look, this is
Oh,
a
did we? Okay.
this is goodie from YouTube.
Okay, cool. Yeah, somebody just texted me and said it wasn't. So,
Let me
but
know.
yeah, I see it is. Yep, it is.
It's up.
Yeah, we're good. Yep. Yeah, I see it is. Yep, it is. My phone was slow. It's good. We're good.
Okay. So part of the stimulus bill that they approved last night, and part of what the Fed also came out to is yeah, we're definitely live. Thank you, Diane.
And appreciate that.
Um, what they're saying is the Fed was calculating, doing their forecasting, that the market was going to take a 15% hit all the way through 2025.
Wow.
That's what they were saying, that this was going to take 5 years and
To
the
come
market
back.
was going to drop about 15%. So what they decided, because what happens is if you stop paying your mortgage, the bank stops getting your money. But the banks still need to keep paying the real money, the rich bonds,
the pensions, the bonds, yeah, all that. Because that's the point that we haven't talked about yet. Maybe we'll do another one for that. But people understand that the pensions and the bonds behind the mortgage industry, right? That's if that defaults, that's when you're going to have a catastrophe, right? So that stuff can't stop paying.
So the bank keeps having to pay Big Daddy bucks, and you stop paying the bank. That's when the banks need bailouts, because the foreclosure defaults are breaking them. They got a bunch of bad debt. They got to keep, Big Daddy bucks happy. So what the Fed said was, all right, let's try to mitigate this drama. What we're saying is, if you go more than 4 months per mortgage in default, we'll take it from there. We'll buy it.
So what they said is, so the Fed actually said that if someone is behind by 4 months,
right? Like if you're not getting paid and you've made that fourth payment to Big Daddy bucks without getting the mortgage paid, we'll buy it. We'll take it from there.
They'll buy from the banks.
Right. So now the banks are no longer on the hook. So a couple questions that brings up, right? And I'm interested to see what starts to happen and how do people start to respond in the next week or so, because this just happened last night, is, okay, how does the banks feel about, I'm not going to be in this for the long term. The most I got to take a hit is 4 missing payments times, let's say, millions. Who knows, right? How many people are going to default? A couple 100,000? Where are we at? That's the $1 million question. Which banks can handle that or not? What does that mean? Is 4 months still way too much for them to say, we're still going to stay tight? We're still going to be over conservative because 4 months is still not worth it for us? Or are they going to say, you know what? That's good enough for us to loosen up a little bit and realize that worst case scenario, we're only going to be out a few months, and then the Fed is going to take it on, and it's their problem. So I can now be a little bit more aggressive, bringing back more buyers to the market, bringing back more confidence to the market, and potentially keeping us from another 2008 drama and crash. So I still need to keep further digging and still need to hear from the banks, and I still need to hear from everybody to kind of give you my opinion on what I think is going to happen with that news. But I think the good news is they're finally starting to talk about saving the real estate market one way or another.
So question, a couple of questions on that. Is that first of all, is that just your primary residence, or that's all that goes to more than your primary residence?
Yeah, multi-family and commercial.
Okay, so it's doing both. Okay. And that's 4 months.
I need to clarify if it's going to go into commercial and multifamily past 4 units. That's a good question. I need to figure it out. Let me retrace that and not assume that it's going to cover across the board.
And is this on new loans since the coronavirus pandemic hit, or this goes back to any loans in the system?
Yeah, it's going to be any loans and any loan. Up until this point, they didn't define a start date.
Yeah.
So they're not saying, hey, whatever because the real problem isn't just the new loans. The real problem is anybody who got unemployed. So I don't imagine it having a start date between the loans, because even if you bought 10 years ago and you just lost your job, people need to get paid.
That's kind of what I saw on CNBC today. They said, FHFA has just said that they'll buy, I guess they're going to buy any owner-occupant loans that have been in forbearance and they don't get paid after a forbearance was given. So I didn't, like I said, again, dig deep in it. But what you said is true, though. I guess we're at a point now where they say real estate is too big to fail. That's what they're basically throwing at it, So and the reason is because people don't realize how much stuff is tied to the mortgage market industry, right? On the back, like what you don't see about, like the people who the banks pay from the interest they get from the mortgages, right? are, these are big pension funds, they're bonds. These are what keeps countries together, right? So they're doing what they can.
Yeah. This off the jump, my initial instinct says, all right, well, I was worried about this being worse than 2008, 2009. Maybe this safety net procedures in place will help, where maybe the market correction won't be that bad, or it might be that bad but not for so long. That's what we gotta keep an eye out, see what the reactions are, see what the banks feel about that. Is it true help or not? Is it a $1,200 stimulus check that people are just like, all right, cool, that's cool, thanks, I appreciate it, but that only covers me for the next X amount of weeks and I'm still in the hole. So we'll see what the banks respond and how they feel about 4 months of being on the hook. And I expect more to come, man. Yeah, we're in an election year, brother. So I think a lot of this, like we talked about before, it's geared towards the last thing people want to do is go into the election battling major economic drama.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother, another conversation, because at what cost? I mean, the Fed, I can't even keep count with how much money, how many trillions the Fed has spent so far, right? So like, I mean, at what cost?
Be around.
At what will our dollar be around? Will the Fed? There's a lot of things that down the road. I mean, it's a new day.
After World War One, after the depression in the 30s and the war, around 1945, they restructured everything. That's when the dollar became so powerful.
It is. I was actually just watching the interview with Ray Diallo. He did a TED Talk last week on the Zoom. Really good interview you should watch. And he's talked specifically how, look, we're in a new age of restructuring, right? After the Depression in the 30s and 40s, we saw all financial systems be restructured, right? We saw individuals restructure how they do their own personal budgets and stuff like that. So he's like, look, we'll get through this. There's going to be a restructuring. There's going to be some pain. A lot of people are going to come out on the other side that's even better. It's going to be a huge redistribution of wealth throughout this. And like we've already said, if you set yourself up correct, right, and you do the right things, this is opportunity, right? This is definitely an opportunity. So, I guess that's something to be happy about, to realize that this is not the end of the world, right? Real estate's going to still be around, it's not here. We don't even know if it's going to get as bad as it was in 08, but definitely things are being restructured, and the financial system will be a little bit different coming out of this probably.
We got a question asking if this is just for federally insured loans or the secondary market as well. No, so it's across the board now, conventional and FHA. They're all working on safety nets essentially for the banks, so that the banks, at the end of the day, are getting bailed out to allow confidence, allow them to be a little bit more aggressive, allow them to potentially, hopefully, take more risk. We'll see how they react. I'll tell you guys next week when we jump on here, and we'll see if that helped at all, or if we're still in the same boat.
Yeah, because talk a little bit about the last time we were at this situation where banks, the Fed and the government were doing a lot of things to open liquidity, and banks were kind of still like, hey, we're not, after 2008, it took the banks a while to actually be liquid again. They kind of fought back against a lot of these programs that were out there for the consumers for a long time.
It was kind of like the bottom fell out really fast. Here, we're trying to get ahead of what's coming. So we'll see how that plays out. That definitely is a little bit of a to be continued. This conversation will be to be continued next week, since the news just broke late evening yesterday. And we'll go from there. Aside from that,
PPP, we got some more PPP money, right?
We got more PPP money. So if you guys didn't get it the first time around, or you didn't apply, now's the time, which is why I got to get my team in order, because we're getting flooded with everybody freaking out because they thought, oh, let me just go to my bank and they should be all right. And then when they didn't get the first round of funding, Now they're like, okay, hey, you got a faster bank? Like, yeah, what's up? You got options? Like, I'll apply, to a couple different banks, and the first person that approves me, boom, I'm in. So that's not a bad strategy. You can't accept the loan from multiple different places, but you could definitely apply. We got a group of SBA lenders. No one's guaranteeing nothing. It's just kind of like get in line, and we're trying to work as fast as we can, and until the money runs out. They're anticipating that this will probably last for, with the way so many applications have come in that they didn't get to, maybe 10 days. But I know still there's a lot of people on the fence that didn't apply. So maybe in these next 48 hours, it might not even last 10 days. So definitely something to consider if you're willing to take on that kind of debt and you're not sure if your business is going to be around after 8 weeks, to be able to make the same amount of revenue. You're going to owe that money. If you can keep your team and you can keep that payroll going, the first 6 months there's deferred payments. You don't have to make a payment, and essentially it could be forgiven if you can keep that payroll amount going. If you can't, because you're, I've given this example a lot, but if you're that daycare, if you're that massage, like massage envy type style that people may not feel comfortable going back for a while, you're going to end up owing that money if you can't keep that payroll together, if you can't keep that sum going. So 2 years at 1% may or may not be something you're willing to take on, and that's a decision you got to discuss probably with your team and your accountant and decide what's best for you.
Yeah, because you gave me an example today too about, you got to kind of weigh if it makes more sense for unemployment or if it makes more sense for the PPP loan, depending on how much you actually make per month, because employment benefits may be the better route for you,
Yeah. If you get a K1 because you got an S corporation, or you got a 1099 and you have a Schedule C, and your net is what counts. So if you've got a bunch of deductions to save money on taxes, and you end up claiming $24,000 net, and that's what you paid IRS taxes on, well, then $24,000 a year is what your income is based off your taxes, what you claim. They're not going to go off the gross amount. They're going to go off the net. So that's $2,000 a month when you divide it by 12. 24,000 divided by 12 is $2,000. PPP multiplies that by 2.5 times. That's $5,000. So you're going to get a $5,000 loan for 8 weeks. And right now, unemployment's going to give you $600 on top of whatever the state approves you. So if the state approves you for $400, and then the government gives you another $600 on top of that, that's $1,000 a week for up to 13 weeks. Then after 13 weeks, the $600 drops off, but you stay with $400 a week for the next 30, the rest of the term, which is 39 weeks. So that's a whole lot more money than $5,000. You can't do both at the same time, because either you're unemployed and you're not going to run your business, or your business took a financial hit because they haven't even clarified that you have to completely be at zero. You can literally still be in business, apparently, and still be able to qualify for that unless they clarify otherwise, but they haven't yet. That's more than $5,000. So why take the $5,000 loan that you potentially have to pay back if you can get that on the unemployment side, if you're not going to be making revenue, and you're not sure when your business is going to be able to bounce back, maybe in 8 weeks, maybe not.
Yeah. And like when you told me that today, I had an idea, that's a lot of people don't understand that information because it's not coming out clearly, the different options out there. Whenever we see it on TV, it's just kind of spewed out here and there, but I think you really have to sit down and kind of go over your options and figure out what's best for you.
Yeah.
And all these different programs coming out.
As far as deals, that deal that I was talking about 2 weeks ago, where I was telling the seller we'll have to restructure the agreement. So he said, all right, just let me know when this is done. But like, we don't have an official contract anymore, which I was fine with. So I personally backed out of that deal. Just to see where the market is going to kind of signal and go, in case it was going to get cheaper, in case I'd be able to pick up better deals down the road with that amount. So that's an update on that specific deal. I know we talked about it a few times.
We got we got a couple deals we're looking to close. We got to close tomorrow on the deal, sub 2 deal in Pennsylvania. We actually wholesaled the sub 2. So that coming up tomorrow. We just locked up a 2 unit in Pennsylvania today. So that was a pretty good deal. Driving for Dollars lead. Actually, you know what? O was looking at a different house. He bought a storage. He ran a storage facility, and these people had another property they're trying to sell. And we called up. Sweet deal. We got it for $20,000. Seller financing, 20% down at 6% interest for 2 years.
Okay, so the purchase price that they wanted was $20,000.
Yeah, they wanted 25. I talked them down to 20, right? And then I talked them down to doing seller financing. So 20,000 purchase price, 20% down, so 4,000 down payment. We got a 6% interest rate, and then we're paying them.
You're paying $16,000, which is the difference of the $4,000 down payment at 6% interest rate.
Yeah.
For how long?
It's amortized for 5 years with a 2-year balloon.
So you got to pay it back in 2 years, but the payments are based off of a 5-year loan, so that the payments are lower.
Definitely, yeah. So our payment's going to be around $309 per month and some change. Mm-hmm. He's worried. It was a house that had a fire, but we just finished the firehouse, so we're fresh off of knowing how to deal with those. And this one was not even as bad. Like the fire was basically contains like 1 or 2 rooms, and most of the damage is the fire department put holes in the wall to make sure it didn't spread. So we think we can get in there and do a pretty good rehab on that, and we'll actually keep that for a rental property. But that's a property that I did research today. They actually bought that in July for $75,000. The sellers did.
Wow.
The ARV is about 115, 120. So we're getting it for 20,000. On terms with 4,000 down. Pretty sweet deal.
I mean, the reality is you're getting it for $4,000 down and $300 and something a month for the next 2 years till you figure out Plan B, which would be fix it up and either pay off the $16,000 remaining, lump sum, rent it as fast as possible once you get it fixed up, and have that extra money help with bringing down the principal, and then turn it around and flip it and sell it.
Yeah, there's many options
and pay it off. So depending on what the market and what happens, that's a sweet deal, my friend.
Yeah, and that was a deal that we had to kind of figure out what to do, because right now we're kind of in the phase 2 of making sure that we don't have any big projects, trying to raise cash. But a deal like comes across your table, you got to keep that. I mean, the numbers just make too much sense. So
yeah, how much is the rehab on that you guys are thinking?
We're not definitely. I think it's probably gonna be between 20, 25 is what I'm thinking. So, hopefully, we might get in there and see it might be a little bit less, but you figure 20,000, 25,000, something like that. It's not a huge property. It's a down 1 bedroom bath, so not a huge property, and most of the damage is in a few spots. So we're gonna keep that. So yeah, besides that, we're still negotiating. We're still doing the same thing, following up. We're still up our pipeline. So as soon as we can go out there and hit the pavement running appointments, we're gonna run as many appointments as we can. The buyers are still calling. Things are still moving. It's slower. There's not as much urgency to get a deal done right now. But we're staying on top of these sellers as much as we can.
Yeah, I got a deal right now on my desk that came this morning. They want to put 40% down, but they want the money at 6 to 7%. I can make the money happen, but not at 6 to 7%. Not right now. Yeah. So they might be able to find someone that might think that that's good and needs to put their money somewhere. But I could find that money right now closer to 10 to 12, maybe even a little bit higher, depending on I don't even know what the information on the property is. I haven't looked at it or nothing, but I just share that because the days of 6 and 7% right now on private money is, you might be able to get that with friends and family if you can convince them and you can sell them. But we are going to be sharing a lot more information about that, of how to share money, of how to share. We're going to share how to approach and raise private money like how to approach people that you know are liquid, and you can bring them sweet deals, and you could probably get them to give it to you in that 6 to 7%, which they may take as a safe conservative number, backed by real estate, and make deals happen. So we're gonna start getting more into that. We're part of one of a very high level mastermind that's going to be focused on that over the next couple months. So if you guys want more information on that, reach out directly to us.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys want to figure out, how to raise private money, which if you can hear what Kevin's saying with the mortgage industry, that's key, right? It's key in any real estate contraction. Private funds are key to people being able to stay in and still do business. You might not be able to get from Kevin or from a private lender, but I got 6% from a seller. Negotiated a seller to give me a loan for 6%, right? That's why these creative financing are so important, because if you can be out, get it to for 6 or 4, or we've done them for 0, right? That's your loan source right there.
Yeah, 100%. So let's do that. Let's talk more about raising private capital and creative financing next week, and then whatever updates are in the news.
Yeah, man, appreciate the time. Everybody stay safe, right? Share this, share our live. We get the information out there. We're trying to give you guys as much information as we can to help you guys throughout these times. Keep a job, figuring it out, and shut up and invest. All right, Kevin.
It's time, guys. It's time. Get those people excited. All right, brother. I'll call you later.